Une femme qui a de l'ambition, elle est confiante en soi. Elle sait ce qu'elle veut dans sa vie. Elle connaît son pouvoir dans le monde et elle s'en sert pour atteindre.
Self-driven, don't need no chauffeur.
Welcome to NoChauffeur. It's a podcast for the self-driven, the self-made, the ones who never waited for permission, the ones who never waited for anyone to take the wheel. I'm your host, Rob Nelson, and today I want to start this journey off doing it a little bit different. Most hosts will either have the first guest on the show or kind of tell you a little bit about their background. So I want to do something different. Recently, I started a record label called FreeQuincy Records. It's the first AI multi-genre record label. We released a AI compilation album on October 31st called The FreeQuincy Volume 1. So what I want to do that's going to be a little bit different than the average first episode is I'm going to have an AI version of myself interview me so you can find out a little bit more about me. How's that sound? Dope? Well, let's go. If you had to describe the moment that turned you from an employee into an entrepreneur, what would it be? I've been an entrepreneur or had entrepreneurial aspirations since I was in high school. So I guess the first time would be when I first decided to write a song for another artist. A guy by the name of YZ. He's a very close friend of mine to this day. Back in the late 80s, worked on an album called Sons of the Father. And I wrote 2 songs on this first album. From there, that led to me getting a publishing deal in 1990 with SDM Warner Chappell. So that turned me from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset at a very young age. I think I was 19 when I first got that publishing deal. I think it was like a 6-figure deal that I got. That was huge. I got that deal before I actually got a record deal. So that's where my entrepreneurial ship started. The first producers I worked with outside of my home-based producer, Tony D, were some guys from Bakersfield, California, called the Baker Boys. And they were the first guys to really tell me about publishing, even though I had a publishing deal. Those guys were the first artists that I met that actually took publishing seriously. And one of the first things that they did when they first got on was they produced an artist by the name of Gerardo or something like that. He has a song called Rico Suave, and they bought some of his publishing, which I thought was impossible to even do, especially for an artist or a producer to do. But they had the insight at that time. They were about my age, so they were in their late teens, early 20s, to not only produce for this artist called Gerardo and this hit song he had called Rico Suave, but they also had enough insight and enough knowledge of the business to actually purchase some of his publishing for that song. But that was my first moment that I turned from an employee. I had little jobs when I was a teenager, but for most of my 20s, I was a recording artist. What did Juice Easy represent to you beyond just cold-pressed bottles? What personal statement were you making to the world? Well, I started Juice Easy as a backup plan for a restaurant a breakfast spot that I wanted to open called Veg Easy. So we're talking 2017 when I wanted to do this idea. And when we got hit by this really huge hurricane that year, I pivoted to Juice Easy. So Juice Easy wasn't my initial game plan. I had all these juice recipes, but I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to make breakfast food. That was my thing. Vegan and vegetarian breakfast. But I pivoted to Juice Easy because it was an easier route. And at the time I was working full time. I'm a father to 3 grown kids, and I just had a new son that arrived the year prior. So when 2018 hit, and I really wanted to just make Juice Easy a thing, for me, it represented freedom. It represented this entrepreneurial spirit that I had my entire life. This was like that big moment. All of those things I've done over the years, from putting out music to producing to working behind the scenes at record labels to putting out music independently. Um, all of those things I did kind of led me to this point of me starting this business that I knew was going to be the thing that changed my life. So for me, it represented freedom. And I think I did make a very good product. But for me, it represented freedom. And the personal statement that I was making to the world was that I could accomplish that freedom by doing something healthy. At the time when I was launching Juice Easy, there was a company here in Houston that was taking off at the same time called the Turkey Leg Hut. And I remember part of me being very, not envious, not jealous, but just kind of like a little perturbed that this company, who probably made a great product. I never tried any of their products, so I don't know. I don't know whether they were good or not. I know they went through a lot of turmoil over the past couple of years financially and with the business closing. But at the time, they were like the hottest thing in Houston, in Texas. And I just remember being like, and it was during the pandemic too. So I remember being like, why is everybody running the lineup to eat this food that's probably not good for them, when not only me, but there's so many other good, healthy. Houston was going through this health surgence at the time, like this big health kick at the time, where all these soul food vegans popping up, and you know, Green Seed. It's all these dope vegan and vegetarian restaurants that were doing okay and doing pretty. We're all doing well, but why is everybody lined up for this nonsense? And that's how I felt at the time. God bless them for doing what they did with that brand. But at the time, I remember feeling like, you know, it has me doing this company Juice Easy has to be something bigger than just the product, because for me it meant freedom. For me, when I left my job, my day job that I had been with for 13 years, when I left that job in 2018, I've never felt more free in my life, even though I took a huge salary cut, and even though my life changed dramatically financially. I never felt more freer than getting up every morning, wearing sweats, going to my kitchen, making my product, selling my product, um, adding on to the brand. Had all kind of spin-off brands within that brand. That kind of freedom gave a person like me, who's constantly coming up with ideas like this freedom that I could never buy, never pay money for. You launched Juice Easy pre-pandemic. What did you get right? And what did you completely underestimate? That is an amazing question. What did I get right? I think what I got right was I didn't hesitate. I did not wait for anyone to give me permission. I had an idea, you know, and I put everything into it. Blood, sweat, tears, long nights. You know, pre-pandemic, I was working a 9 to 5, working 40 hours a week, and I was still doing all the back end stuff for Juice Easy. I was doing all the prep for Juice Easy. I had hired some people, but I still was doing a large amount of the work. I had a partner at the time who was doing a lot of the sales stuff that helped out, you know, exponentially. But I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting while I was heavy lifting my life. And at the time, as well, I wrote a book, a juicing recipe book. I also recorded an album at the time. So um, what I got right is that I did not allow myself to talk myself out of doing Juice Easy, and I ran full speed ahead. The thing that I didn't get right in doing that was I didn't prepare myself for what I was about to take on. I spent a lot of my own money. Um, I had friends and family who invested. In hindsight, I wish I would have gotten loans or gotten money outside of my own money and family and friends' money. That's just that's a recipe that if things don't work, it's just very difficult to come back out of. So I wish I would have done that a little bit differently. I wish I would have hired more people or would have been in the position to hire more people to delegate different duties that I wouldn't have had to do, because I really just wanted to be creative and juice and come up with new recipes and kind of take care of like the back end stuff. But I was doing all the day-to-day stuff, which was extremely difficult to do and be creative and make sure everybody's showing up on time and doing their job and we're making money. So I wish I would have definitely delegated a lot more and brought in a lot more people that were more experienced in those things than I was, and that could have because I was just learning in real time while I was building the brand. So if the version of you that started Juice Easy could meet you today, what would he thank you for, and what would he challenge you on? If the version of me that started Juice Easy met me today, what would he thank me for? I think that me from then would thank me now for making the sacrifices that I made. When you take on starting a new business or building a new company, everything else is secondary. And I could have very easily stuck to my 9 to 5. I was making very good money. I was working for a very good company. I was in the funeral industry, but on the admin side. So it wasn't like I was dealing with death and dealing with dead bodies. I was I was in the office every day. I was, you know, I had the best manager on the planet who let me, as long as I was doing my thing with the company, let me do other ventures because she knew I was an entrepreneur. So I could have easily just fell back and just lived my life like that. But my spirit knows that I'm one of those people that has to be moving. I'm not a sit still person. I'm not an office person. I'm not a desk person. I'm a creative. I've always been that since I was can remember. I've always been that. So I think the me then would tell the me now, thank you for making that sacrifice, because that was a huge sacrifice, And there were some nights when I was in the trenches with Juice Easy. I mean, like in the trenches, like I would be like, what did I do? Like I just gave up everything for this, And I loved my company, but I loved Juice Easy, but I remember vividly some nights during the pandemic when things were falling apart. And you got to understand, when I started Juice Easy, we went from doing it in my kitchen in my townhouse in the Heights to having 5 locations pre-pandemic. In a year, in less than a year and a half, we opened up 5 locations. 3 of those locations 2 weeks before the pandemic. So that when that pandemic happened, it crushed the business. It not only crushed the business, but it crushed my spirit, because I gambled everything on that. But I wouldn't trade it. And I would do it all again tomorrow in a heartbeat, because that sacrifice that I made for that made me into the person that I am now. And the things that I'm doing now, I've learned so many lessons from Juice Easy that I'm doing what I'm doing better now. I'm more knowledgeable about business now. I'm a lot more business savvy now. I'm a lot more, I'm still hungry. So the me then would tell the me now, thank you for making that sacrifice. What would the me then, pre-pandemic, challenge me on now? I think the me then would tell the me now, stay fearless. Like the same fearlessness that I had when I started that company and just jumped into it, feet first, stay fearless, because I catch myself now being hesitant and being cautious, because I know what I've been through. I've seen the highs, the lows. and it's not like I haven't been broke and been wealthy or rich or had money before. I've I've had ups and downs throughout my entire life, but until I started that company, um, I'd never really experienced running a business like I did when I had that business. So now that when I'm starting businesses now and I'm doing things now, um, I'm very cautious. I'm very, I still jump. I'll jump off that ledge, but I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's. So I think the me then would challenge me now to stay fearless, because when you start, that fear comes in, that just starts channeling a whole bunch of regret and coulda, shoulda, woulda. And, I don't want to ever be coulda, shoulda, woulda. You get one life, you get one chance to do all of this stuff. It could end tomorrow, it could end now. I've lost so many good people over the past 10, 15 years, from my brother to my boy Zen to my producer Tony D to my grandmother. I lost so many people just like that. And they had hopes and dreams just like I do. So I could easily lose this tomorrow. So be fearless, keep be fearless and keep going after this, because after whatever you do, because that's 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 what builds character, and that's what builds you into whoever it is that you're going to become.
You built Humbert House Publishing from scratch. What did you learn about ownership and legacy through publishing your own work?
Okay. Humbert House Publishing is a publishing company I started this year, 2025, because I wanted to start releasing books. I wanted to start getting back to my roots, which is writing. As a kid, before I started doing music, I used to write a lot. I used to write a lot of short stories, poems, a little bit of everything. And over the past 10, 15, maybe 20 years, one of the things I've been wanting to do is write screenplays, write short stories, write novels. I just been doing it. I just been doing it. So for me, um, on an ownership side, I don't want to put out my work and not have it, and have it go through what I went through in the music industry, which is, you know, it just it, the music industry doesn't cater to creativity. It caters to dollars and cents. So I said to myself consciously, when I did this, when I started doing this, when I started writing I basically turned my first book is called Cross Examination, and it's a screenplay that I wrote, the very first one that I wrote, maybe over 20 years ago, 20 something years ago. So when I picked it up about a year ago and started rewriting it with all with all this new AI technology, it helped me kind of rewrite the screenplay and turn it into a novel. I said, if I do this, I want to try to do it. I want to self-publish the coloring book that I did when I had Juice Easy. I did it in conjunction with a company called Archway Publishing, which was a self-publishing deal, but they pretty much walked me through the steps of how to create that book. And so once I had that knowledge, when I decided I was going to do this novel, Cross Examination, I just took that information and transferred it over to this. And so, as far as ownership and legacy, these books that I'm creating, just like my music, because I own all of my music, that's my legacy. I tell artists all the time, like, catalog and put your music out and put these creative things out, because you don't know where it's going to be at in 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Your grandkids might pick this stuff up, and now they have insight as to who you were and what you thought about and what the world was like, because of these songs and these poems and these lyrics and these, creative things that we make. So legacy for me, when it comes to this publishing company, is just being able to time capsule who I am and where I am in my life right now, so that my future generation can understand me a lot better, and then can also learn how to navigate and know that they can actually do these things on their own as well. They don't need, you know, corporate machine behind them or a bunch of money behind them. They can do these things on their own because I did it.
Cross-examination feels cinematic and deeply personal. How much of your real life inspired the story?
Cross-examination, um, as far as it, as far as my real life is concerned, the only parts of the book that have to do with me are just certain elements of the characters. Um, the story itself is completely fictional. It's completely something that I just came up with one day. I forget how I came up with the idea for that book. I think it came from a past relationship that I was in and feeling like and the female character I feels like a relationship that I was in. So I think that was what spawned it, but none of the characters are actually based on my real life. Um, but the story itself has pieces of me and my family and my brothers and my close friends and you know, grandmother's name is Elsie, which is the mother character, and um, the main character Born is named after my brother Born. Um, so there's pieces and elements of my real life in the story, but they aren't. The story itself it's completely made up, and it's something that I just came up with, and I thought was a great way to tell a coming of age story about two close friends um, who whose relationship was tested, you know.
What does writing do for you that business never could?
Ooh, that's a good question. Man, what does writing do for me that business could never do? Writing for me is therapeutic. I know people say that all the time about creative things, but for me, it truly is because it's the only medium for me. It's first of all, it's my original medium of expression ever since I was a kid. And for me, it's the only medium for someone like me who's I'm one of those people. And I told my brother this recently, my older brother James. I said I was trying to explain to him how my brain works, and I told him I said imagine if you every time you wake up, it's like a radio station is on in your head, is on 24/7, different channels all day long, and you're just hearing different channels all day long. That's how, and I was telling him that's how my brain works. My brain, from the time I go to sleep to the time from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, all day long, all I just hear is different ideas, different concepts, different ideas. Whether it's music, or whether it's an idea for an invention, or whether it's an idea for a book, or whether it's an idea for a short story, or whether it's an idea for something that has to do with my job. All day long, my brain is constantly just feeding me ideas and thoughts um, for different ideas. So, what writing does for me that business doesn't do or could never do is writing for me is an escape from all of the business. You know what I mean? Like I love the business side, but there's a lot about it that I hate. Whereas with the writing, everything about writing I love. Everything about the process. Even when I get writer's block, I love that whole process of trying to figure that equation out.
In a world driven by speed and algorithms, what does it mean to slow down and write something timeless?
Oh, man, these questions are good. In a world driven by speed and algorithms, what does it mean to slow down and write something timeless? Man, it means to slow down and write something timeless means to be in the moment. It's nowadays it's so hard to just sit still, be in the moment, especially for me. I don't like sitting still. I'm one of those people that don't like sitting still. I always got to be doing something. So when I write, um, when I write and I get to just slow down and write something timeless, that means I'm completely in the zone. I'm completely present. So yeah, being present for a person like me more than anything means everything. You know what I mean?
You once made music as B-Fine, and now you've created FreeQuincy Records, the first multi-genre AI record label. What bridges those two eras of your life?
Okay, that's a great question. Me, okay. What bridges those two eras? I think what bridges those two eras for me is I've always been one of those people who's always tried to be 10 steps ahead of everything. It's always worked to my detriment, especially in the 90s when I was doing music. I was trying to be so far ahead of everyone else that I would miss my windows. My windows of opportunity, windows of opportunity in the music industry back then were probably, a good a year, 2 year, you had a good 2 year window sometimes. I got lucky because I had two opportunities to sign with two record labels. Um, but I was trying to be so advanced and so ahead and I was so set in my ways as far as just wanting to be a purist and a pure MC and a pure writer and a pure, all of those pures that I miss my windows. I miss my chances a lot of times. Um, and because I wasn't one of those people that was going to dumb down my music or um, compromise my integrity, I missed out on a lot. You know, so what bridges that time from what I'm doing now with my record label FreeQuincy Records, which is a completely 180. I'm glad that I was doing that, thinking ahead then, because now it seems like this shit is catching up. Because now I don't feel so out of place in this whole AI world now. This whole AI music thing now for me seems like a natural progression rather than a step backwards, or it feels like I've caught up. It feels like I'm right where I should be.
What does frequency symbolize? Is it about freeing creativity, control, or something deeper?
When I was deciding on names, Quincy Jones popped into my head. When I was thinking about names for a AI record label, one of the most creative songwriters, producers, businessmen popped into my head. Quincy Jones. So I said, what would, if Quincy was still here, God bless the dead, how would he feel about this AI, this whole AI, this technology that we have now? Well, and while I think most people would probably think he wouldn't like it, I think he would. And I don't know the man, never met him before, just loved and admired what he did for music, loved and admired what he did for the industry. But I think that he would feel free. I think that he would feel like now he can take whatever he's doing and go even further with it. And so that's how the name came, FreeQuincy. Simple, but I wanted to pay homage to Quincy. And freeing myself creativity wise or creatively, freeing myself creatively um, felt like the perfect name.
You're now producing AI artists. Do you see that as the future of music or as a new form of storytelling?
I think it's both. It's fucking both. It's the future of music, and it is a new form of storytelling. No matter how much people want to think that it's easy to tell a AI bot or a program or an app, you know, an idea of yours, or even give them lyrics. Like, you still have to be creative in that process, right? And the song still got to come out and be dope. So you can have all the technology in the world. This motherfuckers that got all kind of technology and still can't make good music. Shit, I was one of those people that for years I thought I was the shit, and I could not understand why I was not further along in music than I was. So it don't really matter what you think is dope. It don't really matter what you think. What matters is how people receive it. So even though we have this technology, you still got to be a great storyteller if you want to really make it creative. Yeah, you can lean on these bots and lean on this AI to create these songs or create these moments. But the more you put yourself into it, the more you put yourself and your experience into this technology, the better the product is going to be. So, long story short, um, yeah, it's the future of music. And yes, it is the new form of storytelling. At least for me, it is. So I'm going to use it to my best ability to tell all of my stories, you know, whether it's books, music, everything. If this is going to be the tool that helps me get my voice out to the world, I don't really care what other people think about it, because that's what it is for me.
What would your younger, studio hungry, late night in the booth self think of you now creating entire virtual musicians from code?
That is an amazing question. And that is the $1,000,000 question. Because the me in 1993 would not was a purist. I mean, the me in 1993 didn't like when Puff Daddy came out and he was, you know, remixing all the disco songs from the 70s. The me, I was hating on that. I was like, he's cheating. He's taking a shortcut. Until I went to the club and I heard these songs in the club, and I was like, oh no, this is good. This shit is good. Like, he's making good songs. But initially, like everybody else, I had the stink face because I didn't come up with it. I wasn't thinking far enough to think I should make a joint over, you know, an old Diana Ross song that was popping back in the 60s or the 70s, and turn it into and loop it and just loop it and don't do a whole bunch of, back then we was trying to be super advanced. He just made it real simple, but he used technology to do it. So I would be hating on me right now, but I hope that if the me back then could see the me now and see me taking songs that I wrote back then and turning them into songs now, like different genres of songs now. I'm taking songs that I wrote that are hip hop songs from the 90s and the 2000s and turning them into Afrobeat songs and soul songs and R&B songs and neo soul songs and pop songs and dance songs. And you know, I would hope that me then would see me now and go, holy shit, that's just dope. You know what I mean?
Across all your ventures, Juice Easy, Humbert House, FreeQuincy, what's the common DNA that runs through them?
The common DNA that runs through everything I've ever done creatively has been to compete at the highest level. I don't ever want to be one of those people who just puts out stuff just to put out stuff. Whether it's music, whether it's a song, whether it's a story, whether it's a um, whatever business it is, I want everything that I do to be at the highest level that I can possibly create it at. Because I wanted to compete with the big dogs. I don't want to be average. I want to be, you know, extraordinary. I want the work that I do to be Whether it becomes a commercial success or whether it makes a bunch of money or not, I don't really give a shit. I just want it to be, I want it to be dope. I want it to look dope. I want it to sound dope. Um, so that when somebody does pick it up and when they do get familiar with it, whatever it is that I do, that's one thing they can't deny. They can't say that shit don't look good, that shit don't sound good. You know, he ain't do the cover right. They're always going to say that I put quality over quantity. Another common DNA that runs through all of the things that I've done is that they are all the businesses that I've done have consistently fed my spirit. All of the things that I've ever done in music, all the things I've ever done in business, they've all fed my spirit. They made me want to get up in the morning and like run to my laptop or run to my iPad or run to my phone and you know, these things make me, and that's what life is about. Life to you is finding those things that make you, that feed your spirit and feed your soul and make you not want to be stagnant and make you want to take care of yourself so you can live longer, so you can do more of that. You know what I mean? So all of the things that I've ever done have always fed my soul and fed my soul very well. Whether I made money or not, my soul is rich. My soul is wealthy. And, you know, being a 54-year-old and still loving to do music and still loving to write songs and still loving to write stories and tell stories and do it at a high level consistently for you know, you always hear people talk about artists who have these long careers, um, and the only reason people really talk about them in any high regard is because they made a lot of money and that's the consistency of them making the money is more important than the artistry of it. Yeah, if you could have a long career doing anything, but is it feeding your soul? Is it feeding your spirit? Is it good, giving you good energy? Does it make you want to get up every morning? Or does it make you not want to go on tour anymore? Does it make you not want to live anymore? You've reinvented yourself multiple times. Do you see these pivots as failures, evolutions, or chapters in one long story? That is a great question. It's all of those things. It's pivots. I've pivoted multiple times. Pivots can be failures, and pivots can be the things that make you stronger for the next business venture or the next, you know, whatever. As long as you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep on going, you know. Um, it's been an evolution. It's been all of this is just chapters in my book and my life's book. As long as you know you're creating this great story, that's all that really matters. Because life should be all of those things. It should be pivots, failures, evolution, you know, these beautiful chapters, these hard chapters. Um, and that's what reinventing yourself can bring when you reinvent yourself consistently and you don't take no for an answer and you get up when you're knocked down and you fight when you don't feel like fighting and you know keep going when you don't feel like going anymore. That's what builds your character and makes you into whatever it is you're going to become. So yeah, it's all of those things. If your AI self could give you one piece of advice right now, what do you think it would say? I think the advice that you would give me is don't look backwards. Keep your eyes out of the rearview mirror. and keep looking forward. I think that that's what you, AI Rob Nelson, would tell me. Don't look in the rearview mirror. Keep your eye on the dashboard. Keep your eye focused on the road. Keep going forward. Because things are about to get really, really good. Yeah, that's what I think. That was an awesome interview with my AI self. I don't know if that's a first, but that's damn sure going to go down in the history books as one of the dopest interviews. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be on every Monday, new episodes. And this is just the first one, man, the first of many. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hope you tell a friend to tell a friend. And make sure you subscribe right now. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Et elle s'en sert pour atteindre.